Pause if necessary, but please take a moment to read the following.
Hello and welcome to the 5th video from the Kawasaki channel. This is the first vintage computing video and the first video in a series relating to the Commodore PET. This particular computer was donated by a friend for the channel and hasn't been used in a very long time. Mains cord was fitted with an old style UK plug with no insulation on the ends of the pins. So I'm going to fit a new plug, but before I fit the plug I'm just going to check that there isn't a direct short. So I've already cut the wires ready to go in the plug, so I'm just going to now check. I don't know which way is on or off, so I'm just going to check both of them. That's over 20 meg ohms, so I'm presuming that's off, and this is now on. This will be on, and that's about 2 meg ohm as well. So basically there's no direct short. I'm going to fire it up using the current limiter. If you haven't got a current limiter and you want to do a similar project, I do advise you to check the video that I produced, the first video, which shows how to build one. So I'm going to fit the plug, and I'm going to fit a 3 amp fuse rather than the 13 amp fuse that comes as standard with most plugs. Now with these Commodore PETs, they open up a bit like the front of a lorry. The front of the computer lifts up, and then there's a post that comes up so that you can keep it open. These are usually, it's very rare to find one that still has its screws in it, but I can feel the 2 screws there and the front's not lifting. So what I'm going to do is just going to pull it through to the front of the table and undo the 2 screws. And if you watch the video how to take apart anything, I'm going to put those 2 screws, which are the same, into number 42. I'll be keeping a diagram of that, and the diagram will be available on the channel later on. The front should now lift up, which it does. I'm not sure how far this will go back. It's touching the wall now, so that's okay. Okay, so this is the inside of the Commodore PET. I'll detach the camera so you can take a closer look. Okay, it looks very clean inside. It looks like this computer has had very little use. Okay, and closing it back up. Other than some dirt to the keys and some dirt around the computer, it actually looks, it's looking pretty good. Okay, so we're now looking at the inside of the computer. The computer has not been switched on for a very long time, so I would expect that there's no power in the capacitor. If you aren't sure with a machine, it's always worth discharging the capacitors, and I show you how to build this discharge wand in the second video. Well worth making that for safety. This will very clearly have nothing in it, and that reads 0. What you can do to test them, I'm just going to test that the capacitor appears to work reasonably well, and I'm going to set it to resistance, and I'm going to touch both sides of the capacitor, and what you should see is the resistance start to rise very slowly. It started at a lower figure and it's now going up. It's now in the 100 ohms, heading to 500 and so on. So basically the capacitor is charging up. This is a massive capacitor, so quite expensive to replace should you need to. At this time I'm going to assume that the capacitor's okay based on the resistance increasing as it charges. Now looking at the actual circuit board itself, it looks remarkably clean. In fact, looks like we're not going to have much of a job restoring it. There's a bit of dust, but that appears to be it. The outer case upper is in a bit of a state. There was a badge on from the school that this was obviously in the early 80s, but that's been taken off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take the monitor off, take the casing off from the monitor, and then respray the upper case, the case for the monitor. The bottom case is black, but it's actually in extremely good condition. This computer looks like it's barely been used. I'm quite happy now that it's going to be safe to actually switch it on, and we can get a first view as to whether or not everything works or anything works. So you're seeing this with me for the first time. I'm going to plug it into the current limiting device, just in case. So if there's a dead short, the bulb will light up and it won't cause any serious damage. So I'm now going to switch it on. I got the noise that you heard. Nothing on the display. In fact, yes, we have a display. Commodore Basic 4, 32K, and ready. So really we've got the keyboard and that's about it. What I'm going to do first of all is I'm actually going to see if I can clean this keyboard to sort out the problem with the spacebar. So I'm going to remove the edge connector and take off the keyboard. Okay, these screws are all the same, so I'm just going to put them in number 41 in this box. Okay. So I'll put that to one side and look at the keyboard itself. There's a paper and foil lid, and this just looks remarkably clean. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at the spacebar itself. Okay, so we've got the keyboard out, just giving it a wipe for the little bit of dust that I can see, just so that when I move it around I don't necessarily add any more rust to the inside. Looking at that edge connector, it's remarkably clean. This looks like it's a keyboard that's barely been used, and it's in remarkable condition. I will clean the keys. I'm not sure how the spacebar fits, and I certainly don't want to break it, as this is possibly one of the best keyboards you're ever likely to find on a PET. It's absolutely immaculate, and it may well be that a quick blowout with the compressor will fix the keyboard anyway, the spacebar. I might well have done it anyway, so let's just give it a try. You see the stand that goes into a holder there, and you can now use the computer with it open. I have a foam pad which is quite handy for this kind of thing, so I'll just put that on here and fit the edge connector. Okay, switch it back on again. And that's cleared the problem with the spacebar as well. So it looks like I've got a 100% working computer. You can see the keyboard, and obviously all the keys are actually working on it. Shift lock's on there, so you can now see it without those. So all the keys are working. When I tested it earlier, the spacebar was a bit hit and miss, and now it works every time. So the keyboard is in full working order, and the traditional test. Next job will be the disassembly in order to clean off the top part. Looking at it, it may well be that cleaning it would get this back to pretty much new condition, but there's quite a mess where the security badge was taken off from the school that it was at. So really, in order to get it to 100%, it's going to need respray.